Greetings, shellheads. I'm Jeremy Jones, and I'm joined by my co-hosts, Matt Jowett.
Howdy.
And Ken Duque.
Hello.
Today we are going to be talking about a fun little run of Ninja Turtles. Are you guys excited for this one?
I am.
Yeah, this is always a good time. But the comics themselves, we'll get into it.
Well, I just want to remind everybody to send Plewds for next episode, and maybe, for the fun of it, tell us who your favorite Ninja Turtle is, and maybe let us know what you want to hear us talk about.
Mine's Venus de Milo.
You son of a bitch. You're dead to me.
Not really.
Clearly the Gator's the best.
Oh, what was that guy's name?
Is it Leatherneck?
Yes.
Yeah.
I think it was Leatherneck. I don't even remember that.
I'm
like
a
the duck
sucker
with the bomber jacket.
Yeah.
He was like a pilot.
Oh yeah,
Mhm.
I had that action figure. I don't know if he had the gun, but I had a gun with a tongue on it that you would press it and
Yeah.
the tongue would go in and out. It was vile, frankly, now that I'm an adult and I can see it. I don't know if that was his gun, but I had a lot of like G.I. Joe guns. You know when you would just like have a bunch of G.I. Joe guns that would fit in sort of everybody's hands?
Yeah.
I had a lot of
yeah.
those.
I took the trench coat off of a Cops action figure and put it on my Dick Tracy. Because Dick Tracy didn't
Love
come
it.
with a trench coat. What was up with that?
You put it on your dick, is what you're saying.
I did.
Whoa.
Yeah. You put a little trench coat on him and he became Dick Tracy.
That's right.
You put a little pencil in his hand and you had him draw things for people.
Well, do you remember that Simpsons skit where it's like little Ned Flanders and he was like a terror? He was like, "I'm Dick Tracy. Now I'm Prune Face.
Now
I'm Prune
Face.
Tracy. Prune Tracy. Now I'm Dick Face," but it cut off before you got that far.
Yes. That's so funny. All right, you guys want to get started?
Yeah, let's hop into it. Let's tackle this.
Okay,
Teenage
let's do
Mutant Ninja
this.
Turtles Urban Legends, aka Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles Volume 3. Ken, you want to give us a little background?
Right on the spot. So TMNT, Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, Urban Legends. This is the color reprint by IDW of the Image published Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, like 1 through 13, I think.
Yeah, 1 through 13, and it's gorgeous, by the way. The color, first time it's ever been in color, and it looks great.
Yeah. The colorist is the same guy that worked on Nailbiter. I can't remember his name right now.
Adam Guzowski.
Mm-hmm.
I know I pronounced that correctly.
You never learned to read, did you, Matt? Eric Larson relaunched it in the summer of 1996 under Image. And the story is that Laird liked what he saw in a crossover by Frank Fosco and Gary Carlson, but ultimately couldn't fit it in his schedule. Like, he didn't want to do it, basically. And Laird was like, "You got to make this comic." And he's like, "I don't want to do it." So I guess that's how it landed in their laps. If that's true, I don't know. That's what I heard.
And it's important to note that this is like the black sheep of the TMNT run. I don't know if we can say that anymore in 2020.
No, well, that's not. I don't think they mean African American sheep. I think they actually mean black sheep.
So it is not considered canon, like almost everything else out there. It is disliked. It's looked down upon. That's why we've decided to dive in and take a look at it and see if it's as bad as the fans make it out to be.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think it is. I think it's actually pretty awesome. It's got its own little niche in sort of like the world.
There's a lot going on. I can see why people would choose to be hesitant to put in their canon. I was really surprised by a lot of things in this comic.
So I guess, and I don't know if this is true, Fosco the artist and Gary Carlson the writer they were like clearly making a choice to go back to the roots of the Ninja Turtles, right? Like they wanted to do like a Frank Miller inspired violent martial arts comic. And they wanted to get away from the cartoon, which was still popular even in like 1996.
I loved the old comics, but there's a part of me that has to admit like that maybe to some extent growing up, like the color-coded turtles, the more cartoony ones, that after a while became the turtles that I knew and kind of accepted as the norm. And it felt a little weird to go back.
Yeah, I mean, let's be honest. The color coded ones I think might be better, like just as characters, because it's like when they first did the like Legion of Superheroes, where it's like, oh, Aquaman's just Superman and he's blonde and has fish. You know what I mean? And then we sort of started giving them personalities. And even just one word personalities, you know, like Donatello does machines. It's like, oh, he's smart. Okay.
But I will say, so they do have the red masks in this, but they do have their own takes and they do change their own looks. Right? Raphael has the mask. We'll get into this as a mask he wears. Donatello goes through a huge transformation. And I want to say, is it Michelangelo rarely wears the mask the whole run? It's always around his neck. Like he's always got it hanging around like a bandana around his neck or something like that. So they did kind of address it in their own way, the color coding and their own little personalities and how they look different and stand out with the all red bands.
Yeah, it's important to remember too. This was originally before the reprint black and white. So
Right.
So Laird was like, "Hey, how are you going to differentiate them if it's black and white?" And Frank Fosco said that he wanted to tell them apart by body language. And then obviously they're like, plus we'll just scar the shit out of them. So they all have like Leonardo has like a missing hand and Raphael has a blasted off face.
Do we want to go into a little bit of history about Gary Carlson and Frank Fosco? Do you have any information on that? Because Gary Carlson, I have a feeling, got this job because of his history with Eric Larson, who was the editor-in-chief at the time at Image, was he not? Or the publisher? Was he the publisher? He was the guy in charge at the time. But Gary Carlson basically gave Eric Larson and Rob Liefeld, however you want to say it, their kind of start. And that's why you see his characters appear in this later in the run as well. But to me, it almost seems like a favor. Like, hey, thank you for giving me my start. Here's a big property that people honestly didn't care about at this time. Like, let's be real. Like, the turtle movement had moved on at this point. This was after the third movie. People didn't really care about them anymore. I remember coming out and I'm like, oh, cool, turtles, and like not even caring, not buying it, not flipping through it. But of course, Wizard, which was like the Image Comics fanboy magazine at the time, was like selling it like crazy and got me kind of interested. But even still, even with all that fanfare, I never touched a single issue. But I was like, oh, it looks and sounds neat.
Yeah, totally. Because like '96 was like the fall of comic book stores too. Like that's when people started noticing the downturn. You know. Yeah, it did feel like that. Larson was sort of getting like a favor out because like he started at Megaton Comics, like you were talking about with Fosco and Carlson, where they were giving sort of a shot to up and comers like, you know, Angel Medina and Rob Liefeld, who we talked about. He was actually supposed to do Youngblood 1 on their Megaton Comics before they shut down in '87, but
there's an ad that exists in a Megaton comic, isn't there?
Yep, yeah, and he basically was like, I don't know what happened. I think they got shut down, so I think he jumped ship.
I watched a really good. Sorry, side note. I watched a really interesting video about his run on Hawk and Dove recently, and how and why he got fired. We should talk about that sometime.
Where he decided to do everything sideways.
Sideways,
and everyone was like, "What the fuck were you thinking?" And he was like,
Eric Larson. No, then apparently said Eric Larson did it previously when he introduced the same villains, and they're like, "No, he didn't." But this channel went back, and Eric Larson did do it. Like, I don't know, 6 to 8 months previous, where he did the same villain or the same world or whatever dimension it was. The whole issue was sideways.
That's hilarious. Well, that's funny because it's like that's a great example of Rob Liefeld being like, "Well, I can do that, of course," and everyone being like, "No, you didn't earn it. Like, you can't do that."
But it ties into this because they're all from that same school. That was in the late '80s. They had just left Megaton and went to DC and Marvel and started their big illustrious careers there before they broke off and became the biggest thing in comics.
Yeah, I think that added to this hatred for this run too. I think a lot of people's idea of Image Comics in '96 was also part of the backlash for the Turtles because like Carlson had attributed that to people's perception of Image, and he had even in a few interviews been like, you know, people hated our Turtles because it was connected to Image, not because they didn't like the Turtles. I don't think that's true, but it could.
No, I don't either. Yeah, but I remember that time. I wasn't actively avoiding Image, but I wasn't going out of my way at that point to buy Image comics.
I bought way too many Image comics at that time. I was a silly little teenager with just enough money to waste a lot. And I was so sure that my comics were going to be worth something. Because, you know, I was told that they would be.
Pyramid scheme.
You can get the full run in a quarter bin somewhere, along with the Stephen Platt Moon Knight and whatever else was like worth hundreds of dollars at the time.
Sorry, I'm not trying to like move us forward, but
There you are.
I could just
Let's do
complain
it.
about comics all day. I could complain about anything all day.
We know.
A to B, like what happened in these first 13 issues of this trade. Can you guys even explain it?
Yeah, I think we can do it.
Like, can you enunciate like a coherent human being?
We decided to take the status quo and just flip the table. I think that's the short version.
Yeah, everything you knew about the Turtles, forget it. This isn't the Turtles you know.
First big splash page is an Eric Larson drawing. It's not even Frank Fosco that drew it. It's Eric Larson.
Oh,
And
really?
it's just it's Donatello exploding. And in issue 1, Raph has his face blasted off, like completely shot off. Donnie drops out of a helicopter after getting exploded.
Yeah, and he's paralyzed.
And the Turtles talk basically nonstop about the ass of their new enemy.
They do. They do.
Oh no, that was definitely one of my notes as well. It's like, wow.
Do we want to touch on the writing as we're going through this as well? Because I have some notes on the writing in this first issue, particularly. Well, a lot of the dialogue in this first issue is like ripped from the first Ninja Turtles movie.
Oh,
Like,
completely.
did you notice that? Like the way I can't remember, was it like Michelangelo said? What does he say?
He says, "You stinking rat, you killed my brother." But he says it like cheddar. Like he spells it like cheddar in the speech bubble.
And then Leonardo does it slices, it dices. He does that line from the first movie as well. So I'm like, does he not like? Does the author not know these characters? Is he just like watched the first movie and that's how he's writing them? It was very awkward.
Good point, because Frank Fosco and Gary Carlson have both admitted that they don't follow the continuity of comics and they didn't follow Ninja Turtles. And they were basically like, oh yeah, we'll just do like whatever we feel like. And that's what we got, is they watched, it looked like the 3 movies and then made a comic. Raph calls Leo their fearless leader, which he does in the first movie.
Yeah.
Yeah. All the dialogue, or not all of it, but a lot of it is ripped from the first movie.
So Carlson said that Peter Laird, had suggested killing off Splinter. He was like, yeah, you guys got to kill Splinter. Like, that would be crazy. Carlson said that he didn't think that was a good idea. He was like, that'll make people's heads explode.
So instead, we're gonna turn him into a giant bat.
I probably would have been more invested if they had killed Splinter, to be honest.
I agree.
I mean, I was pretty invested in the first 4 issues are really solid. I was invested in this little tiny arc that was going on where they reintroduce the Turtles and basically shake up the status quo.
So I liked everything about the Turtles that had them in it. I didn't like any of the side stuff. I didn't care about the villain. I didn't care about the what's her name? Pimento. What's her name?
Pamiko. Yeah.
Pamiko. I didn't care about her.
Who we find out is Shredder's daughter later.
Shredder's daughter.
Yeah.
Just the stuff with the Turtles and what they were going through and how they were dealing with it and just learning about them. But everything outside of issue 1, because issue 1 is terrible, but 2, 3, 4, whatever the rest of this first little arc or run was, all this other Turtles, like Donatello, I just wanted to keep going back to him because I was like, what is going to happen with him? He's lying there paralyzed, and rats are crawling up, and you're like, oh my god, they're gonna eat him alive. They find a skeleton, that's all that's left. You're like,
dude,
nuts.
Rats, but they left his shell, which was weird because like Turtles don't work like that.
Maybe Ninja Turtles do. No, you're right. I loved Donatello is my favorite Ninja Turtle. He always has been. He's the man. And in this, they make a point in the first few issues to basically be like, Donatello is fucking awesome. He like keeps waking up and he's all bloody, like Frank Miller Ronin style.
It's good.
Yeah, it was a lot of fun. And then you get in the same first issue, you get like Girl Squad where they meet the Weasel. You know,
was the Weasel in the first issue?
So the Weasel is like a riff on Wolverine. Obviously, he's like a screw you to Marvel.
It's really fun.
It's cool, and they make a point to show Pamiko is tougher and meaner than Wolverine immediately. He's the ultimate 90s comic badass, so she immediately takes him out, and that's them being like, Pamiko's, she's top tier.
He's in issue 2.
Oh, I'm sorry, he's in issue 2.
I'm flipping through here, but but I agree that they established she's a badass and she can kill Wolverine with the one swipe of her sword.
They also established that Mikey looks at pics of Terry Hatcher from
Oh
Lois and Clark.
yeah.
New Adventures of Superman.
Yeah.
I don't. Also, Terry Hatcher. Maybe she was like the hotness. I don't know. I don't remember that. She wasn't RC from the Transformers, and that's what I was into when I was a kid.
Wow.
Was that Desperate Housewives Terry Hatcher though, or was that Lois and Clark Terry Hatcher?
96. The only thing, yeah, it's gotta be Lois and Clark.
I think so.
But issue when you touched on this, we kind of moved on. But Raph getting half his face blown off, that is so graphic. That image too, it's just all gnarled and hanging up. His eye is huge, and he's like, What are you looking at?" It's so good. It reminded me. Do you remember when the Thing got his face cut by Wolverine. In the 90s?
Yeah.
It was very reminiscent of that, where he's kind of like hanging out in a big grotesque eye. But like that now defines him for the rest of this arc.
Yeah.
That and that he's incredibly like psychopathic in this comic.
Yeah.
He tells the chicken guy that he looks like Colonel Sanders' wet dream peckerhead.
Yes, yes, he does. Yeah.
And he's like drinking a shot while staring up at a stripper. And I was like, I guess this is our new Raphael. I guess this is what he's doing.
Yeah. Raph is just a step away from a sociopath by the time this is all done.
Issue 2, he covers up his scar by putting on one of Casey Jones's old masks, which looks badass.
And it's so cool.
I like that.
We're all like, it's wicked cool.
Yeah. We're so 90s. Like, oh yeah, hockey mask, yeah.
I love it.
But,
well, we didn't even touch upon the first one where Pimiko attacks him in the sewers. There we meet one of these like robots who is like another nobody in the line of metal jawed bad guys like Trap Jaw and Jaws from James Bond and Iron Jaw and Baron von Underbite. I mean, you can just keep going on. There's all these guys with metal like mouths. And we get like a billion references from that first movie that came out in 1990 that you talked about. In that just the first issue, and then it like cascades down. I wanted to mention that because I was like, oh, Metal Mouth guy, another one, you know.
But the robots are important later with Donatello's story, so it's good you touched on them.
Yeah.
What are they? They cyborgs?
Well, welcome to fucking Gary Carlson's writing style, where it's just like they're robots.
They're here. They're a thing.
He did the same type of like education on Japanese like history because we've got a lot of weird stuff going on with that, which is fine because it's Ninja Turtles. But like, why do they keep saying I'm not a ninja? They keep saying I am ninja. It's a state of being.
Yeah.
Like Pimiko is constantly like, I am ninja. He is ninja.
I am not a woman. I just passed that panel. I am ninja.
And it's like, well, I feel like you're a woman because everyone keeps talking about your butt.
Pimiko, your butt that's hanging out the whole time.
It is an interesting costume choice for her.
Very 90s.
It's so Frank Miller. Yeah. Frank Fosco is like, they're like, oh, who like is your inspiration, or who did you look up to? And it's like, obviously Jack Kirby. Like he loves Jack Kirby. And then Frank Miller at the time clearly got in there.
You've de-evolved to Frank Miller.
You can see his devolvement in the 12 issues. It slides from Kirby Miller to Larson at 12. Like it's Kirby Miller in 1, and then it hits full Larson at 12.
Think so?
Oh yeah. Dude.
Oh yeah. I'm looking at 12 right now. Yeah. Okay.
They hit Chicago, and I was like, so this is just full on.
Yeah.
No, it's full on Eric Larson.
Yeah. Chicago. Yeah, Chicago's the point because it was what was the city before that with the Night Watchman? It was still pretty good, but as soon as it hit Chicago, it's just sloppy.
Yes.
Well, they'd even said that in their original bi-monthly stuff. They knew they were going to get shut down, and they're like, so we just started dragging our feet on the comic.
Because that's the right attitude to have.
Come on. We've all had that job where you're like,
of course,
you start off really strong and then you're like, I don't want to do this.
Issue 2, we also have Leo has an arc that he enters where he goes this out-of-body experience. He's able to communicate with Splinter. I almost said Shredder. Splinter. He can communicate with him, find out where he's going. He also can locate, and he finds Donatello, who's lying. He fell out of this plane. He woke up, fought his way out of a plane with a robot, android, cyborg, whatever. They fell through the sky, crashed into the street or the sidewalk, and he's completely paralyzed. He can't move. And Leonardo finds him when he's in his out-of-body experience.
That was such a cool scene where they flip the image so it's Donatello. Like Pimiko cuts the cyborg out of the helicopter, and Donatello like blasts out of it, and it's like this 1-page spread of him in the air with the cyborg. It was a really cool spread. They get the air car and they're like flying around in the air car. I don't know if it was. Let's just move through these. You're right.
It was 3. It was 3. They get the air car. All of a sudden, out of nowhere, it's like, oh, Dunny fixed this up. He's had it stashed away for us. Let's go find Splinter.
Sure. Here's the Triceraton air car. They all talk like Lobo. Like they all call Pamiko's like ninja babes and stuff. Like it's so weird. And they say like, I got dibs on that tush.
Yeah.
And I'm like, I don't feel comfortable with these hormonal teenage turtles attacking this woman.
Horny teens.
Yeah. Do you remember when Mikey makes a point where he's like, Splinter's like, I made you some food. And Mikey's like, ooh, hairball special.
That was the first issue, wasn't it?
Is Splinter feeding you his pubic hair?
Gross.
Well, sorry. That's what I thought.
Gross.
Okay.
Michelangelo's the one turtle that doesn't have an arc, I'd say, in this first 4 issues.
No, he's nothing. He doesn't. He barely has an arc in the end of it where he starts dating the Eric Larson Savage Dragon character, Sarah, I think her name is.
Yeah, he also does too when Casey Jones and April O'Neil's daughter gets taken. Like that changes him. So writing, we're making our way through. Is that what we're doing? So we also get introduced to Komodo, the bad guy.
Yeah. Real quick, who's your favorite Komodo in which anthropomorphic brother-themed story? Warriors of Virtue or Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles? Did you guys ever watch that?
Wasn't that with kangaroos?
They were like wushu-based kangaroos.
I never watched it, but I remember
metal, wind, fire, and like the bad guy was Komodo.
I didn't watch the movie. I'm familiar with it. I didn't watch it.
You guys are trash. I'd watch it right now.
I am.
The special effects in it are the same level as like Tank Girl.
Yeah, love Tank Girl.
Matt's just shaking his head at me.
Yeah, I'm not gonna say anything. Komodo. So we get what's his big master scheme? Why did he need a turtle and why did he need Splinter?
Oh, it's all very well researched Japanese cultural stuff, you know.
Yeah.
In his giant Japanese fortress in the woods. Very inconspicuous.
He goes, my Bushido is deceased in issue 4. And it's like, okay, your Bushido is diseased.
Really awkward.
Same issue that the Mako shark character says, what's wrong with Charlie Chan?
Oh my God.
And this is what I'm talking about. We're getting Chuck Dixon level writing. You guys don't even give a shit, do you?
Oh.
They have Splinter just like hanging out in a bath,
and he's like, my sons would be so jealous of these hot babes.
Yes.
And you're like, okay.
He's getting bathed by 2 naked women. Yes.
Again, this is why this comic is so much fun, because it's like this is what, 4? Issue 4?
Yeah, this is issue 4, but this is the departure point for the art. When we meet Komodo, and if you look at those pages, look at the 2 samurai that jump over top of Splinter, and the next page where it's like the close-up of Komodo's face and the way Splinter's drawn, like it's getting very lazy, very fast.
Completely, yeah. But it's also the one where we see Donatello as a cyborg, like right at the end, which is an awesome page. He's like blasting up in the air in like a cornfield. Oh shit.
So the cyborg fuses with Donatello and saves his life. But they are 2 entities in one.
Yeah, he uses them as like a backup host, basically. And you also find out that Pamiko is Shredder's daughter. You know.
Yes.
We can start moving through this kind of quickly.
Yeah, let's move on with the story in the room.
It gets real loose in the middle.
Yeah, big time.
Let me ask you this. So there's one, I'm flipping through it here, and Komodo's walking with Master Splinter through a bunch of tanks. Some of these life forms are alien to this reality. Many more are mutants, some are frauds. Fah! This unfortunate soul turned out to be merely a human in cybernetic suit. But you can't see who it is.
Did you catch that one, Jeremy, or no?
No.
I'm thinking Iron Man or something like that.
No, it's Rhino from Spider-Man. Remember, they're still hating on Marvel. And you can see a guy in the back with like little knobs on his head.
I see it now.
He does. Rhino? Yeah, I see it. Yeah, I wanted to bring it up because I want to get your guys' take on it. I couldn't figure out who it was, but yeah, that was like a hard boom, one to the chin.
And I actually, so I like that stuff. I enjoyed it. And they stopped sort of doing that in the later stuff. And they really focus on connecting this Image Comics run to all of their Big Bang Comics characters and the Eric Larson stuff. So you meet Vanguard.
Yeah, you were talking about Vanguard. The Vanguard stuff is so bad. So Vanguard, Night Watchman, it's so bad. I hated it. I skipped through most of the dialogue. It was so boring. All I cared about was the Donatello stuff at that.
I will say that's where it started to lose me.
Yeah, it was complete trash. I agree.
We'll talk about it when we get there. So yeah, it cut you off. So we're at the end. We're still at the end of that issue with Komodo. We got Mako. We got to talk about Mako.
Yeah, I mean, do we? I mean, I guess we can.
I'm fine with introducing Mako because I like your big hungry brute. It's a fun character, or somebody you could have fun with.
The way he spoke was probably just like the id of Gary Carlson, because he says such crazy shit.
He calls Splinter Shaggy here.
Yeah, there's a bunch of weird stuff, you know? There's a bunch of weird things that he says. Like, just so much cringeworthy banter.
Yeah,
But I don't even mind, again, because the comic is so over the top, I don't really mind it as much.
it is a little crazy, but that's okay. So I'm on board for these initial 4 issues or so. I will say I kind of wish, like you mentioned earlier, like the idea that maybe Splinter would die. I kind of wish maybe that was the climax of this opening arc.
Yeah, it would have had more impact. Well, it's tough to say if it had more impact though, because Donatello's a cyborg, Raphael's lost half of his face, and Splinter's a man bat. I don't know.
We didn't even talk about that. So Splinter turns into a bat, guys. This comic is nuts. Like, it's so much fun to read. Would it have had any? Like, it would have just gotten buried, like, with all the crazy stuff going on.
Maybe, but at least he wouldn't have turned into a bat.
Yeah, that is definitely weird. And they don't really totally explain it, do they?
No.
Yeah, mutagen.
Komodo, says, I respect you. You saved my life. But then I like how, like, 3 pages later, he's like, ha ha ha, just kidding. I still am going to kill you.
Gotcha.
It was like, what? That was very poor writing. We're talking about writing right now. That was terrible.
It was
like,
weird.
Fill this issue up with something. We need danger and action.
Older comics were written that way. You had 28 pages, and you had to keep, when you're telling a story, they want you to keep flipping the emotion, right? They want you to keep going back and forth.
I think they wanted an action scene, and that's what we got.
Mm.
Because after that scene, it's them burying Donatello's shell, having a little moment.
Yeah, we talked about this too. It's just reminiscent of the movies again. They just keep copying. Yeah. They keep swiping from the movies. Yeah. It's like, okay.
But then I love the Komodo dragons chasing Mako through the cornfield.
Yeah, when he's like, out of the way.
But he immediately jumps into the flying car and takes off. But they have remote control.
Yeah, of course they do. And they just dump him.
Yeah. I enjoyed that.
Because I think, because we sort of already touched upon it, I think Frank Fosco with Eric Larson doing the inking and some other people like Chance Wolfe and another guy, it's really good. Like, when he's on, he's on. And when he's off, he's completely off. Like, I like the way he draws the turtles.
I like turtles.
Really squat and muscular. And
I do too.
Yeah.
But Splinter gets real lazy in these early issues when you see him. Whereas I find the turtles were consistent all the way through their look. Like, the detail did slide a little bit from here and there on them, but they always had that squat little look. Like, that was always consistent all the way through. The shape. And we were talking about shapes before we went live.
Yeah, like the silhouette, totally.
Held that shape of the turtles.
Did you know we had just done Batman Contagion? Did you know that Fosco, because this is what reminded me of us talking about him, he did fill-ins for Waringo on Robin.
I actually saw that just before we went live. I was looking at, it was like some article, like his 13 favorite issues or something like that, and one of the Contagion issues was on there. And I was like, oh, we've seen him, and we talked about him before. Except Donatello gets a little. I'll backpedal. Donatello gets a little weird.
I love when he draws machines because they're just big chunky pieces of metal and shadow. Like, I really like the way he delineates like the shapes and stuff.
But remember, but this is black and white. Like, black and white, it would have just been like a block. There would have been nothing there. Like, the color helps with him.
Yeah. Like, I love at the end of this issue where it's like, it is, like you said, it's a big block of a gun on the end of his hand, but you've got the pulsing blue and energy, and I'm down with that. I'm curious to see what it looked like in black and white. I agree.
That image right there you go. That's Kirby. I see Kirby there. You even got the crackles, but like, just look at the shadows and the line work and everything else. Like, that is Kirby. And then we're going to slide. We're going to slide down from here.
I'm literally just swiping through. And it's people being like, all right, hot lady. All right, big butt.
Yeah.
And she's like,
I am ninja.
It's this weird, complete like dichotomy between her talking about how important being ninja is.
Yeah.
But it's completely overshadowed by all references to her are about dead ass.
They did feel like kids. I'll admit that. They felt like teenagers. Yeah. In the same way that I'm older now, and when I see a teenager, I want to punch them because they are stupid. Yeah, they just speak from their crotch. You know what I mean?
Doesn't it start on their 18th birthday? Isn't that the...
Do they say what age it is? I don't know. That's a good point. It is their birthday though. The whole thing kicks off.
Why it's their 18th birthday, Jeremy? As if like we've got to make sure they're of age.
But the thing is, like, I don't know if that's maybe not intentional. It's like, yeah, we know we're gonna say they're just adult enough to be inappropriate, but they're still teenage assholes.
I think it's definitely Donnie's birthday for sure.
Yeah.
And he gets shot to near death on it.
I did want more out of Pimiko because I like the idea.
Well, yeah. We're only but come on, you introduce her. She's Shredder's daughter,
And then
and like she's gone almost immediately after you learn that.
I love the scene where she kills the cyborg in the jail cell, stabs him, and then feeds him to Mako. Pretty cool.
agreed. That's when I was most on board with this. I was like, okay, there's been a little bit of silliness in how she's being referred to, but I can see the turtles talking about her that way. I can
you
buy
guys,
in.
you don't have to prop me up.
Fair. It's deliberate, like between the costume choice and how she's referenced. But on the flip side, they do make an effort to show her being completely badass.
Yep.
And I like that, but I wanted the payoff to that. And granted, this is only the first 13, but the fact that she's gone just
Then we go to team up of the
horrible.
month.
Yeah, from
after
like
that.
6 to 10,
Yeah.
or 6 to 9 maybe. Yeah, all these Big Bang comic characters, right? And then some of the Savage Dragon characters, and we meet Sarah and Mikey go on a date. And around issue 7, all the art starts to just fall off a cliff, and we see filler and crossover and some titties.
What? No, we don't.
In the strip club, there's like
I don't even remember that. That's what it's devolved to.
And then around 11, Fosco gets his second win, I feel like, and the work sort of picks up. And then at 12, it sort of drops again, and Ralph goes full shredder, which is a really cool moment.
Yes. Oh wow, you just jumped right to the end.
Tell me what's important in the middle of this comic.
Nothing. So we'll wrap it up. Komodo, he gets destroyed. Whatever. Shredder becomes a man bat. We mentioned that, and now that's the focus of this book. After that first 4-issue arc, where is Shredder? What's happened to him? We need to locate him. We need to get him back. We need to turn him back into a rat, right? Like that, and that's the drive of this comic after that first arc.
They fight vampire hunters, I think, because of
I didn't even know what was going on. It was stupid. But it turned out to be an astronaut who was dead. Like it was so dumb. Like I tuned out. I wasn't even paying attention to what I was reading.
Yeah. And then you just start getting all these really lazy, it's like Last House on the Left reference, Psycho reference. Like it's just like, I'm gonna push through this. Okay.
Eye patch Raph. Ralph. Thoughts on eye patch Raph? Did you like it? Or
Matt, this is the problem
with
of recording so late, is that we're all like burnt out.
I know.
I like the face mask 100%.
Yeah.
I
like the mask better too. And I kind of like that it comes after, even though most of the middle filler spot I don't like, I kind of like that we get to see April and Casey for a little bit. They've kind of moved on to the next stage, and like I feel more comfortable. Like it's clear that Casey's kind of moved on to his next stage, and so Raph can kind of put on the mask, and he just gets shot, man.
Oh yeah, right in the back.
Yeah.
Oh, who's your favorite April? Judith Hogue or Paige Turco from those Golden Harvest movies?
Judith Hogue.
You don't have to pick Judith Hogue, Jeremy. You can go with someone else.
The original. Have you seen her doing the reunion videos on YouTube? She's been getting like the original casts back.
Yeah, she looks good. Yeah,
she looks like she hasn't aged a day.
Really?
Have you noticed that? Like she looks like she did in like 88 or 89 whenever the movie was filmed.
Awesome.
They're both New Englanders. They're both from Massachusetts. Her and Paige Turco. I don't know why that's important. They're from Boston. Did you know that?
Yes, Judith Hogue is the April O'Neil, but she revealed why she wasn't asked back for the other ones, because she was difficult on set. She's come right out and said it. Yeah, she disagreed with the director a number of times. Yeah, she said, I watched an interview with her. Like these are her words. This isn't like someone else like, here's the dirt on what happened on Turtles. She was like, no, I questioned the director too much. I wanted more input, and I told him to do things a different way, and I was not asked back after that. I was a pain on set.
My favorite April also is the arcade machine April, who's holding the camera, and she's got a real sassy look. Yeah.
But she's wearing like a drawn-on yellow jumpsuit. I remember playing that game in the arcade with my brother when it was new, and we were telling my dad what was happening. Like my brother and I, we were like, "Oh, we're down the sewer, and we fought these guys, and then these monsters came out and fought us." And I remember, like, it was bizarre. I still remember to this day. The arcade owner was like standing there and walked over. She's like, "What are you talking about? Where did this happen?" As our gorilla, and we're talking about monsters in sewers, and he was really serious. He was like staring at us, and we're like, Ninja Turtles." He's like, "Oh, okay." And I've always wondered about that since. Like, yeah, wait, monsters in sewers? Where? Like, yeah, exactly.
Very strange.
Stayed with me forever. It was,
but
so
then again,
bizarre.
you gotta wonder who runs an arcade.
Yeah, right. Exactly. Well, you know, when you're a kid, you're like, this is a dream job to own an arcade.
Crazy person who's like, you know what I like? Not making money.
I like quarters. Lots and lots of quarters.
My brother met his ex-wife at an arcade. And I remember meeting her and being like, I don't know about this chick, man. Lo and behold, 10 years later.
He was like, no, I'm going to marry her. The second he smelled those quarters.
It smells like wet pennies.
It
felt like they were like in a room together. They're both doing cocaine, and they were just like, we gotta write we gotta write Ninja Turtles, man.
I think they just wanted to deconstruct. I think they just wanted to break it down and just make it new. It's like, now they don't live in the zoo anymore. Now they're gonna live in like a cemetery or some shit.
Yeah, but
yeah,
they go to the cemetery for one issue, and then I think Raph or Leo goes back for another issue. But like, it's completely abandoned. It was just a plot device to fight ninjas in a cemetery in issue 2. They went to the video store, they rented 1 through 3, and that was their research. And that's why we have samurais as the bad guys in this as well, under Komodo's, I don't know. But there was one little clever bit of foreshadowing and writing that I did pick up in here. When they go back after that whole first arc, they go back to the sewer, and they say, hey, there's only 3 turtles left. Donnie stepped on one and killed it. And I was like, oh, that's foreshadowing with what happens to Donatello. Like, there's only 3 brothers left. And they do that pretty early on, because later on in this arc, Donatello dies. He goes brain dead.
Yeah.
He gets attacked by that crazy astronaut robot, whatever that was. The worst thing ever. And it kills him, like brain dead. And the cyborg takes over, and whatever that other robot entity takes over. And then there were 3, but Donatello keeps tailing along. He's there, which I found weird. If we want to jump back to the writing, why does he care? Like, I know he's got some dual priorities, but he can just be like, fuck it, and go off on his own. Like, I'm a cyborg. I don't need you 3.
It was also wild because, like, did they ever give that cyborg a name? Ever?
I don't think so. The one that melted him?
I don't think so, and I feel like they should have.
But like, he's a non-character basically.
Yeah,
I was rather dissatisfied with that whole bit. I'm all for him having to like struggle against the AI or something like that, but we haven't really established the AI. Like, it doesn't even have a name. It's just.
It would have been cool. Yeah, you're right. It would have been cool to see almost like a what's the name of the new Blue Beetle? The newer Blue Beetle, the young kid from the Titans. We'll just say Blue Beetle. The new Blue Beetle, where he has to deal with this super weapon that's constantly telling him to kill, and he's like, no, don't do that, don't do that.
Yeah, he's a kid.
Yeah, that would have been interesting. I keep wanting to say Robbie Reyes.
Jamie Reyes.
Yes, Robbie Reyes is the new Ghost Rider, or one of the Ghost Riders that Trad Moore worked on. High point though was the ending. Maybe did you guys think so?
Yes, because it was shit for so long, and then the last 4 or 5 pages, we get Raph becoming the Shredder.
Yeah,
he finds Shredder's armory tucked away there in the Foot Clan warehouse that they live in. I like the whole idea. Okay, let's backpedal with that. I like the idea between the Ninja Turtles and the Foot Clan having a truce, and like Raphael having to ask permission to go in there and speak to them. And there's like this uneasy like alliance that could crumble at any point. I really like that stuff. That writing was strong.
Yeah. It totally felt like an RPG campaign. Like, it felt like it was Ninja Turtles and Other Strangeness, and you had your own Ninja Turtles campaign, and your GM had just knocked it out of the park. Like, he was like, dude, we're shaking it up.
Yeah, agreed.
You see it now in actually the IDW reboot. They have all that, the intrigue between the Foot Clan and like all these power politics going on.
Well, and I do admit, like, around that stage, we see Raph just kind of completely fall. Like he's like it's just killing. Like it's been established using a gun and whatnot. It's he's not following whatever personal code. He is just murdering people because it's what he feels needs to be done.
Yeah, he becomes like Shredder. Like he starts losing it basically, which is cool. He like gives into the rage.
So yeah, by the time we're done, we just have 2 Ninja Turtles basically. Donatello's not Donatello. Raph isn't Raph.
We got Mikey and Leo, and Michelangelo is just a horn dog. That is his whole character arc at this point.
Yeah.
So by the end of it feels like Leo is pretty much the only legitimate Ninja Turtle.
I don't know. I really thought the end payoff, or this technically isn't the end. It's the middle because it's only issue 13.
Right.
Yeah. It's good for a once through. I'll say that.
Matt, how much did you pay for it? Do you remember, Matt?
I don't know, $700 because I'm in Canada. I paid $40 Canadian for this book,
which is what, $10 American?
Yeah, $10 American, $10.50. I would not buy it again if I lost it. So I would not repurchase this if it ever left my hands.
Yeah, I would recommend it if somebody likes Ninja Turtles. I would recommend it the same way I would recommend like some old video nasty tape to somebody I know likes horror movies. Like it's flawed, but if it's your wheelhouse, you're going to want to read it just to talk about it.
Yeah, that's a really good point. I like turtles.
I like turtles.
Yeah, we all grew up with the Turtles, right? Like we're all of the right age that we were in our prime during Turtle Power or whatever it was, Turtle Mania. Yeah. But like, man, like I could recommend maybe the first 6 issues, but once we start going on those side quests, I can't recommend it. Even when we start getting into the gangster shit with Casey Jones's daughter, I can't recommend it.
I did not enjoy whenever it's like, look, the Ninja Turtle is going to pal around with some Image comic guys. That's nice.
Like the whole thing felt like an ad. I know they were trying to build at the time Image's multiverse, right? Like it was a big deal, but it just didn't feel. I didn't like any of the characters really.
Along came Robert Kirkman, and he's the one who did it finally with Invincible. He was able to take all those characters and kind of smush them in, and he had a lot of Eric Larson's stuff in there. But I like Night Watchman. I enjoyed that issue. It took a lot of shots at Batman. It was fun if you're a Batman fan. And they tried to get away with saying Batman in as many different ways as possible without saying it. Did you notice that?
Yeah, that was good.
It was good. I like the panel where he's sitting there brooding on his chair thinking, and there's the window next to him with the bats flying in, like just like that classic panel where he decides, like, my name's going to be the Batman, and the bats crash through, and he's like, bats, and he dives for cover instead.
Yeah. Did you see Fosco's work on Elseworld Superman Annual 6 with like the Superman and tiger fur and like jungle and animals crowded around him? It's like it's wicked cool. And it's basically weird. Like Superman lands in like India instead of Kansas, and it's sort of like a Jungle Book mashup.
I'm looking it up right now. It does look cool. He's covered in tiger furs, and he's got his crest like on his arm like an armband, surrounded by wolves.
Fosco did the art for that story on the inside.
It's Jungle Book 100%.
Yeah, totally.
It's a cool cover.
Well, that's it for me, guys. I don't know what else to say about this. Let's be honest.
It's that's what it. Yeah,
it's very on the surface. Like there's not it's a lot of fan service when you get it, but
yeah, I agree. You know, I am looking forward to finishing this arc, and I know you brought it up to us originally, Ken, because it's finally going to have a conclusion after 20 years or something of not having an end. It was announced they were going to write the final issue of this.
Yeah, IDW was like, "You guys want to come back and finish it up?" And they're like, "Yeah, we're not doing anything else."
Yeah, what else we got going on? Sure. I'm interested to see where this goes. You've read the whole run, haven't you, Ken, when it was published originally?
So right when they got canceled, basically.
But it was my first time. It was your first time as well, wasn't it, Jeremy?
Yeah, it was my first time. I'll admit despite the problems I have with certain parts of it, because I like the characters so much, I do want to see where it goes. I would like to see some payoff to some of the things that are introduced.
But will we get it?
That's the thing I'm concerned. I don't really know that we'll get a satisfactory payoff, but I want to see if we do.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm curious to see where it takes us. Yeah, that's my final thoughts on this as well. I got really nothing more to say on this first arc of the Urban Legends, aka TMNT Volume 3.
It was fun to just kind of reminisce. Like in a weird way, sometimes when something like feels so off, it at least spurs some discussion. It made me pine for the cartoony turtles. Like I had to admit to myself after reading this, I was like, maybe I do just kind of love the the 4-color turtles. I can't help it.
I still think that my biggest comfort blanket movie in the world, like a movie I could watch a million times over, is like Big Trouble Little China, Conan the Barbarian, and then the first Ninja Turtles. Like I could watch those any day, any time of the week with anybody because they're so much fun.
Yeah, I agree. Nice. I agree on all three of those, especially Conan. But
Conan's in my top 3 too.
It's such a good movie. But I agree. I revisited the first Ninja Turtles movie recently with my eldest son, and it was damn good. It was really good. My wife was even like in the other room. She heard the music. She's like, "Are you guys watching Ninja Turtles?" And she came in the room, and like the two of us are sitting there. My son couldn't give a shit. My wife and her was like, "This movie's so good." Basically, he's 4. He's like, they're idiots. Final thoughts. Read or skip? How about that? What do you give it, Jeremy?
I would say if you like the Turtles, read. Like it's like with the little asterisks at the end. Like there's the caveat. I would say
don't get to. You got to binary pick one. Gun to your head. Donatello's mechanical arm to your head.
If you can download a digital copy on the cheap or something, if you can find the equivalent of like a Steam sale on this, yeah, go for it. I would not pay $40 for this. It's like whenever you like have a food, it's like, this smells terrible. Smell this.
See, outside the two of you, I don't know anybody I'd recommend it to because they wouldn't enjoy it on the level that you guys have enjoyed it. To be like, this is terrible, Matt. Why did you tell me to read this?
Yeah, it's cool to see DNA like of other artists meeting other artists and mingling, right? And then see what gets produced when you mix all these things together. Because there's a little bit of Ronin, there's a little bit of Frank Miller's other stuff. There's Jack Kirby in there, and then him working so closely with Larson, it creates its own look too.
Are you not a fan of Eric Larson's work?
I don't dislike it. I don't.
Hard at gun to your head. Yes or no?
Pamiko's butt to your head. Yeah, I like his work. I think he's a good storyteller. I think his art as just art, like what's the word I'm looking for? As like a piece of art is not that good. But his storytelling is good. It's the same. I feel the same way is from Invincible is Ryan Audley. I think his storytelling is good. I think his like rendering and art is like okay. It doesn't do anything for me. He's still really good, but it's not something I look at and I go, wow, like as an image.
Right.
So yeah, I'm a read, man, 100%.
I'm gonna give it a skip. I'm gonna be that guy, and I'm gonna give it a skip. And I enjoyed it. Don't get me wrong. I can't recommend it to anybody.
I respect that. I mean, I watched Tammy and the T-Rex last night, so I'm that guy. If I'm willing to watch that movie, I'll also read this comic.
That's it for the episode. We're done on that note.
That's how I felt at the end of the run.
Find us on Twitter, YouTube, Instagram. Just search Plewdcast, Plewd cast, and that's it.
On Twitter, we're at the Plewdcast.
Oh,
yeah. Anyways, so yeah, if you want to suggest a run of a book for us to go through, call in. So some of the ideas we've been kicking around are 2099 stuff. I'm not doing Ravage. I'm not touching Ravage. Whoa, whoa,